Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown featuring the legendary warriors, Nameless King 321, and Dactor, who seems to be in a particularly festive mood, as the mighty clan Eshin do try to sneak and stab their way to victory up against the Wood Elves, who are indeed going to bring in the brand new sisters. Should be a fun game all round. I think clan Eshin is a good way to go as well up against the Wood Elves. You can try and be all sneaky and as you like, and sneak into that bow fire. Anyway, let's go through the forces super quick here. So, for the forces of the mighty Skaven, we do have a Master Assassin who has taken the high ground here in a rather risky position away from his allies, but still, he can be a big old pest. And of course, he is also, stalked, he's a Master Ambusher and all that good stuff. Going to be coming in with Lumen Dread, Rival Hide Talisman, and Slipperin. For the cost per kind of characters, he's a very good duelist and character for his price, although he's rather squishy as well, and can be a bit susceptible to bow fire if he indeed is spotted. Now, for the rest of the force of Skaven, we do have clan rats with spears dotted along the front lines, and a ton of Skaven slave slingers in the secondary line, cheap, cheerful, and can do pretty good consistent damage over the course of a whole battle. We do also have probably the most overpowered unit in the game right about now. At least has one of the most overpowered effects, and that is the Poisoned Wind Mortar. And that is because it comes in with this damage over time effect, and even if you just have one mortar left, firing in, and it hits a unit, it is indeed going to apply this effect, making them incredibly potent and deadly. And from most games I've seen, they tend to easily pay for themselves, even if they get shut down relatively quickly. But we'll have to see what Dactor does do to, try to overcome this obstacle. For the rest of the build, we have clan rats with spears. We also have storm vermin. Hell yeah, coming with some awesome elite rat boys here. Coming with those sword and shield storm vermin. Not terrible in this matchup either. Can chew through lots of their high elf infantry. We also have wolf rats dotted around on, it looks like one flank and maybe on the other one hidden into trees. These guys are fast moving, can pack a bit of a punch as well, but need to be careful. If they get charged by any cavalry, they basically get deleted from the game pretty quickly. We do have rat ogres as well. Looks like just 2 units, no regiment of renown sadly, but these guys have always been a fantastic counter initiation unit. You wait for your opponent to try and get in here, swamp the Poison Wind Mortars, charge them with cavalry, then you counter punch with the rat ogres and really knock them down a peg or two. But really cool build. As for the Wood Elves, they are asking the age-old question: are front lines even necessary? And as far as factions go, Wood Elves pretty much can answer that as a no. Front lines aren't necessarily if you have the right tools to deal with your opponent. And one of those tools is going to be the Sisters of Twilight firing up in the air on the mighty Eagle, which I think for most matchups is actually a better pick than the Dragon, although it does look a little less cool. Coming in with Eagle Quiver, they are going to be there to try and snipe out artillery pieces and the like, pushing forward and taking pretty considerable damage here from the Master Assassin straight out of the gate. They do not have their Conjoined Destiny ability popped. Apart from that, we have a ton of Deepwood Scouts, it would seem, dotted all the way along the front line here. Going to be looking to try and push forward, do damage, and then fall back down the hill to the huge cavalry contingent. And it looks like we have a mixture of Glade Riders with spears, as well as Wild Riders dotted all the way along. Wild Riders are kind of a little bit of a forgotten about unit at the moment because of the Great Stag Knights, but in some matchups, particularly this one, I still love the Wild Rider. Incredibly fast, incredibly hard hitting as well on the charge. They can certainly do some pretty nasty stuff. We also have Ariel here, hidden back in the trees in her natural habitat. She's going to be coming, of course, with Berry Wine, which is such a good ability and item. Also, Acorn of the Oak of Ages, something that I don't bring too often, but we'll have to see how it performs here, as well as Dart of Doom. We have then Soul Stealer and Apotheosis, probably the 2 most competitive picks for her as far as her spells go. Maybe Tempest as well, but of course not really up against the Skaven. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. So the Sisters are going to be floating forward for now, although Lumen Dread has been popped on them. She's going to be unleashing some shots here into the Poisoned Wind Mortars. Trying to take them out before those Deepwood Scouts are discovered is a really good idea, but the Sister of Twilight taking some pretty massive damage here from the Master Assassin. And yeah, that Lumen Dread not doing too bad at all. It looks like we also have an Eshin Sorcerer that I forgot to mention earlier, coming in with those awesome shurikens, doing some massive damage. Looks like it was overcast, well, then Apotheosis is going to keep her alive and healthy. If we have a little look at the Eshin Sorcerer here, it's kind of Armor of Darkness, a very good and underrated ability, and Warp Stars. And honestly, all round, I think the Eshin Sorcerers are really kind of underutilized by a lot of Skaven players. But we do see some pretty good damage coming in now by the Sisters. Poison Wind Mortars down to 7 models. But as I said before, as long as one of these guys is still alive, they are going to deploy that pretty nasty effect. So we see more warp stars being flung up, and it looks like all of them connecting so far. Sisters of Twilight with an Apotheosis already popped on them, coming down to close to half health. It looks like we're having another Apotheosis coming down, this one an upgraded version. Deepwood Scouts have now come to the brow of the hill, going to be shooting up and over. Looks like they're going to be raining fire down on the clan rats. Obviously not the best target, but still it's going to be enough to entice the Skaven forward. So perhaps they can draw the force away from those poisoned wind mortars, who are going to start to rain holy warp fire down upon the Deepwood Scouts, who are fleeing for their lives. Flee, flee. But it looks like they managed to dodge just about. So good diligent play there by Dacta. We do have the cavalry coming charging down the hill here to intercept the wolf rats, as well as kind of ramrod to these clan rats with spears just a little bit, nearly breaking them, but in come a hail of pebbles doing some pretty good damage. The Glade Riders actually there taking quite a bit of work there for the simple sacrifice of some clan rats. Looks like those wolf rats with poison are indeed going to chase. Armor of Darkness popped on these guys, making them incredibly resilient right now. 75 armor, forcing back that cavalry contingent, although now they have turned to engage, and Ariel is relatively nearby. More shots still being focused in on the poisoned wind mortars, who are struggling to kind of get into position for now, mainly due to this kind of skirmish force by the mighty Dacta. Deepwood Scouts are launching shots up and over, but good play here by the Skaven, pulling back their troops. And on this left-hand flank, it looks like those pesky wolf rats have yet to be noticed. So if these Wild Riders and Glade Riders do overcommit to a charge, try and push in the back lines and the like, these wolf rats can spring the trap and get into these Deepwood Scouts. Over in the distance, we can see yet another Apotheosis has had to go down here on the Wild Riders, who took a bit of a beating here from some of those pesky wolf rats. And it looks like clan rats with spears are overchasing a little bit here, though. So these guys probably going to get crumped by all of these units if they do indeed charge. But no, looks like they are going to be able to fall back just in the nick of time. Mortars continuing to fire, but are struggling to make decent contact. As you can see, the health is ticking down on those Deepwood Scouts now, as that poison effect does come into play. And it's a close, cagey game so far. Neither force really wanting to commit too much, just trying to feel each other out and get, free kills where they can. You can see Wild Riders are picking off clan rats with spears where possible, and the poison wind mortars as well are taking pretty consistent damage from the Sisters of Twilight, though, who themselves have been battered and bruised slightly. Skaven Slave Slingers making some pretty good contact, but that Master Assassin, the real MVP for the Skaven so far, spinning and throwing those shurikens with deadly accuracy. So I say that he does miss a volley, but still, Sisters being pounded hard quite a lot there. The poison wind mortars are now launching some shots in, trying to focus fire down at the Wild Riders. Coming in and, making some good contact once more. And look, only one shot does connect, but that health is going to be ticking down, doing some pretty nice damage. So we have quite a big engagement here. Glade Riders come in and break 2 units of wolf rats. However, the rat ogres have been able to respond this time, and they're going to be clumping these Glade Riders down, force them from the field, and these guys will be lucky to escape with their lives. Poison wind mortars making some really lovely contact now on the Wild Riders and Deepwood Scouts, doing some pretty decent damage as the Rat Ogres do pull back once more. Really good patient play from both players so far, going very tit for tat with the damage values, as the balance power is still pretty much dead even. Poison wind mortars continuing to rain fire in. It's going to be interesting to see who they're going after, and it looks like they're trying to hit the Sisters of Twilight, which is a really tough target. Mortars do not have a good time, of course, hitting units up in the air. That pesky Master Assassin with his concealment bombs popped has been a real nuisance so far for the Sisters, but it looks like they are slowly getting their value, hunting down these poisoned wind mortars. More shots are going down on Deepwood Scouts, who do pull back once more, and Deepwood Scouts have now managed to get into range of the mortars using the brow for cover, which is really glorious play. And Wood Elves have ridiculously good accuracy, so they don't even need to see their opponent, but as they can see, fire is coming back to return, and clobber straight into the middle of a load of Deepwood Scouts. Not a good day for them, and yeah, they are going to have to pull back, and Poison Wind Mortars have 70 armor, so they're not the easiest troops to deal with all round. But as we can see, Wood Elves are slowly making ground, hunting down loose units, which kind of do fall out of the formation a little bit, and the Wolf Rats are getting very low as well, health-wise, and those Glade Riders are just licking their chops, waiting for those pesky Wolf Rats to be deleted, so they can charge in and finish off these Poison Wind Mortars for good. However, at the moment, they're still alive and active and making pretty good contact. Of course, Ariel can indeed heal. It looks like she's getting a little bit too close for comfort with this Master Assassin. Some more shurikens have been flung at the Sisters' way, doing some huge damage there. Some really cool animations as well on this Eshin Sorcerer, who's currently cackling as he does unfortunately take a load of arrows for, you know, his heresy of daring to attack the Sisters of Twilight. Master Assassin has got in here, popping it Slippery as well as Armor of Darkness is going to make him incredibly tanky, but a Rival High Talisman does go down as well to try and support him. He needs to try and escape at this point. He kind of got a little over-eager trying to hunt down these Sisters, and yet definitely needs to retreat as a fat Soul Sealer has come down, and the Master Assassin does not have much health at all, so Soul Sealers are going to be particularly dangerous. But it looks like those are get out of jail free card here. Should be able to wiggle the way back to the Clan Rats, although they do get hit themselves by Ariel. It looks like the Glade Riders may return back to the field once more. And that Master Assassin has found a Demigoddess a little bit too strong for his feeble blades there, and is in fact going to get terrified back here. And this has forced the Skaven to push up a lot of their forces and really try to get to grips with the Wood Elves. And in the back line, they're doing just that. Wolf Rats, do manage to hunt on some Deep Wood Scouts, but luckily for them, the Sisters are watching over them. Clan Rat Spears as well, probably get covered by some Wild Riders as well as these Glade Riders. That particularly good with Micro in the Wood Elves is a pretty scary foe for sure. Although it looks like his Deepwood Scouts have been forced off here. Good Mortar play so far. The fact they've managed to be kept alive this long is really helping pay dividends in the late game. However, now that their forces have popped forward, those Glade Riders have seen a juicy target, and they're going to hunt down these Poison Wind Mortars and charge into the rear here. Should be able to break them relatively quickly. Rat Ogres need to get over here and say hello. Sisters of Twilight still getting pretty low, looking like they're going to try to finish off that Master Assassin. Concealment Bomb was indeed popped before he broke, so perhaps they're not going to be able to find them, and that Eshin Sorcerer is just eyeing them up juicily with those Warp Stars in his back pocket. Rat Ogres have now managed to get a nice surround on Ariel, but she is disgustingly tanky now. Not just because of her stats, but because she actually falls over rather a lot, like a lot of the old Footlords used to do. And of course, when she's getting knocked down, she's going to get back up again, but also not take too much damage, which is perfect for her. She causes terror, so in this instance, up against the Skaven, you can see even the mighty Rat Ogres are terrified as they take crossfire from the Deep Wood Scouts, who certainly trust their lady enough to let her get her hands dirty here. Glade Riders need to respond to these Storm Vermin, who are pushing through, and the Storm Vermin could be a bit of a problem in the late game if the ammunition does start to wear a little bit thin on the Deepwood Scouts and the like. More Warp Stars find their target. Sisters down to 870 health, but the backbone of the Skaven force has started to flee, and that Eshin Sorcerer is now the focus of attention. Glade Riders in the back line doing a fantastic job, up to 51 kills, are slowly getting surrounded by Storm Vermin, but this isn't where the Storm Vermin want to be, obviously. They want to push forward and to kind of hunt down these other units, but they're desperately trying their best to protect the back line. It looks like the back line has indeed fallen. We do have a full health unit of Rat Ogres still fighting, trying to surround Ariel, as more glorious Warp Stars do get flung. It looks like it was a miscast, actually, sending the Eshin Sorcerer to the ground, as well as some big shots coming in, but no doubt he'll give it a go again at the next opportunity. See if it looks like he is lining up and flinging some more shots at these Sisters' way, and that does so much damage, finishing them off and dragging them down from their mighty eagle. The Wood Elf leadership is gone, and that does even up the balance of power now. Perhaps this is a fantastic way back in for the forces of the Skaven. Storm Vermin still full health as well, although Rat Ogres are now getting pinned in by a pretty impressive fire from those Deepwood Scouts, who are starting to run a little low on ammunition, but still plenty of arrows to fill these Rat Ogres with holes, and they're one of the only answers they have left to the terrifying figure, which is Ariel. And down to 2,100 health, so managing to chunk her quite a bit, but looks like the Eshin Sorcerer as well is going to be running for the hills, and I think that may seal the doom. An almost perfect comeback there from the Skaven, but yeah, Wild Riders now on the prowl, certainly going to be quite happy to feast upon these little rat boys as they try to run for the hills. And all of a sudden that comeback was a little bit short-lived as the balance power swings quite heavily in the Wood Elf favour. You can see Glade Riders, good diligent play once again coming in, being used to hunt down Rat Ogres and force them from the field, which is fantastic to see. But yeah, Force of Skaven still desperately trying to rally their troops. Some Storm Vermin and Clan Rats coming back to the fray. But with the leadership completely gone, looks like the Eshin Sorcerer has indeed had enough. It's going to be quite a tall order. Storm Vermin are pretty much untouched, however. If they were kind of in the thick of the fighting, which is really hard to do because there is no front line for them to get stuck into. The Wood Elves basically could, especially when they got rid of those Wolf Rats, could kind of pick and choose the engagements. And I think that was the big difference here. Acorn of the Oak of Ages there coming in. doing some okay damage as well. Main thing is it's going to slow down the Storm Vermin and allow the Deepwood Scouts to fire the rest of their salvos in, although they're running pretty low on ammunition at this point, and it's going to have to take a decent amount, I think, of cycle charging from the Wild Riders and the like to really break down the Storm Vermin and finish them off. Morale is getting pretty low at this point, however, the ammunition is now gone, apart from 1 or 2 volleys left. Storm Vermin cannot be allowed to reconcile kind of next to each other if the Wood Elves are to take this one. Of course, the Storm Vermin desperately trying to force their way towards their brethren, but yeah, it looks like some tear outs are going to go down, and with that, the army losses will kick in. Really interesting game. Massive shout out to the legendary Nameless King here for sending this one in to me as well via my Discord. Really awesome to see that game. And a very tactical early stage as well. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. Feel free to comment as well. I do read through them all and greatly appreciate them all and try to reply to as many as possible. If you want to see your replays up on my channel, feel free to join my Discord. There is a link down below in the description, as well as links to other ways you can support the channel and fuel my hot chocolate addiction. Anyway, awesome to see these two in action. As for the builds, this Master Assassin, despite kind of unfortunately getting a little bit over-eager and kind of getting surrounded and kind of stomped to death, unfortunately for him, got some pretty crazy value. Straight out the gate, 1,400, considering he didn't get to survive the whole battle, just by picking, nitpicking those Sisters of Twilight over and over and over again, slowly chugging their health down, and it was nearly working as well with the help of those Warp Stars, and I think that's a really good way to try and counter the Sisters overall, is you just slowly grind them down over time. They're not incredibly tanky, and of course their Conjoined Destiny is a bit expensive, especially on the Eagle, because of the amount of health they have. I don't think you're going to see it too often, and because of that, if it wasn't for, Ariel coming with the Apotheosis, those would have been 2 dead Sisters. I mean, they died in the end anyway, but dead a little bit early on. As for the Mighty Mortars, you can see a big focus of attention for the Wood Elves to try and deal with, and that's one of their bonuses as well. Like, they got pretty good value, 1,500 and 1,300 damage value, and pretty huge damage dealt as well, 9,000 and 8,500 HP. It's pretty scary stuff, and that was with Dacta focusing them down as much as possible, and that's one of the things they make you do. They make you have to acknowledge them and spend resources to shut them down, and there was some good play as well by Nameless King to keep them alive and active for as long as he did. The only one real kind of like big misplay, apart from losing the Master Assassin, was the Storm Vermin couldn't really ever find a home, and basically, both full health at the end. Even if it was just used to soak up arrow fire and stuff, just to allow the Master Assassin to escape, or, support him against Ariel, I think the game could have gone very differently. But still, very well played indeed, and an awesome game by him. As for the Wood Elves, you can see pretty big kills across the board for the cavalry, and yeah, this is something relatively similar to what I do. I don't go with the Deepwood Scouts. I actually don't go with the Sisters in this matchup. I quite like Orion and Ariel matchup, but yeah, the Wild Riders and Glade Riders are particularly potent and deadly and necessary for shutting down the back line of the pesky Skaven there. But very interesting, no front line needed by the Wood Elves, and I think they're one of the factions which can get away with this. There's not too many, but front lines, are they overrated? Let me know down in the description below. I think with Wood Elves, it is possible. You use Ariel, who of course causes terror, to bunch up enemy troops, and then from that point onwards, you simply fill them with arrows and cavalry as well, used to protect them. I think if you are going to go without a front line, you do need a huge cavalry presence like this build, simply to counter-initiate, counter-charge, and keep those Deepwood Scouts firing. And they're firing for the majority of the battle. Not crazy damage values across the board, but they picked off those key targets, which then allowed the heroes and the cavalry to really seal the deal. And yeah, Sisters managed to get, they were relatively well kind of dealt with by Nameless King, not actually making their value back, which is pretty rare from them, because they're very good at making their value back, simply because they can simply fly above the skies, and slowly whittle down the enemy from afar. But still not bad at all, over 4.5 damage dealt. Anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.